Chapter 12. Gibber Gabber. You might expect the children of the cruel school to be learning a foreign language they could use in later life, such as French or German or Spanish or Mandarin or Russian. Oh no! The language teacher, Miss Gibber, taught an entirely made-up language, one that she had made up herself. It was called Gabber. Gabber was absolute nonsense. It was impossible to learn as it kept changing all the time. That was because Gibber could never remember the meaning she might have given to one of her made-up words. For example, one day Gabber said spoon might be bimmy bammy. The next it might be ferg. Similarly, the word for queen in Gabber might one day be spogglefish, the next fibbly foggly foo. Or the translation of tree into Gabber might exchange from bum rottock to moggy 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 to Zingleleid. It was impossible to follow, not least for Gibber herself. Spod managed to give Larker the heads up on all this just before Gibber waltzed into the classroom. Gibber was a short lady whose mismatched clothes and glasses made sure she was always noticed. Gabber exam today, boys and girls, she announced as she handed out the papers to a collective groan from the class. Rubbish, boomed Boom. It's not rubbish, Boom. All you have to do is translate from Gabber into English. It couldn't be simpler. Have we learned to speak English yet, miss? Asked Daft. You are funny, Daft, said Larker. I'm not trying to be, replied the bemused girl. Oh, said Larker. She scanned the exam paper. The list of words in Gabber was long. Dongle dangers, gritty knuckle, yidiki click, spam fam dam, sausage berry, bum bum bum, hoo hee ha, hoo hee hoo ha, pom tom malong, nicky nacky noo, quamdumptious, winkle plonk, frink, flobber dobberish, manty pants, eek, splendorous, fronty bunt. Crimble dongers, doody dungleberry, wazzleplop, yankle dump, plop, ploo, fru bodicious, split platter split, woo wah, keen, tinkle, fronkle, donkle, ponkle, podaciousness. Larker thought for a moment. Ping! I've got an idea. I'm going to beat Gibber at her own game. How? Asked Spod. Yeah, how? Joined in Bug as if he too wanted to be part of the game. Larker smiled. Talk only in Gabber. Hang on, missed a part, sorry. Gibber wants us all to fail his Spod. Why? Asked Larker. So she can put the lot of us in detention. Not detention, whispered Pongo. We'll never be the same again, asked Bob, mopping his brow nervously. I was there yesterday, and I feel like I'm burning up. Like I'm going to explode. Larker thought for a moment. Ping, I've got an idea. I'm going to beat Gibber at her own game. How? Asked Spod. Yeah, how? Joined in Bug, as if he too wanted to be a part of the game. Larker smiled. Talk only in Gabber. Chapter 13. Ging Gang Ghoulified. The Gabber exam begins, announced Gibber, looking at her watch that ran backwards. Now! Immediately, Larker plopped her hand into the air. The exam has started, huffed the teacher. I know, Miss Gibber, but do you mind if I speak to you in Gabber for a moment? In Gabber? Asked panicked Gibber. Yes. Well, I'm not so sure. This is a Gabber lesson, isn't it? Of course, Gibber's Gabber. Then what better way to learn the language than to speak it? Larker had Gibber cornered. There was no way out. She had to agree. Go on then. A mischievous grin spread across Larker's face. This was going to be fun, or to translate fun into Gabber, Donkle doo-da whizzy-plops. Larker began. Moon donga gaga, bish for lapapalub, donkey nonkel, ooda barbabilia, nishquat, grunkle flunk, moonlick, mickey moo, zop zop zop, foo bling ding dong. She ended the sentence with an upwards inflection as if it were a question, but because she had made up this Gabber just like Gibber did, it was impossible to answer. For once, Gibber looked dumbstruck. Spod's eyes and the eyes of all the other children in the classroom turned to the teacher. Gibber looked mightily confused. Please, could you repeat the question? As if customary in Gabba now, the exact same words were completely different. Poopa, Dingaling, Moogleberry, Naunton, Croonflip, Micmac, Moo, Pugrot, Fergal, Durgle, Purgle, Gruga, Ubi, Unte, Hinklelink, Brew, ha 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 ha. Darth especially was loving it and joined in the fun. Moopy Fizzfaz, Mongol Drop, Udru Udu, Wimple Muppet, Zonky Donk. I can speak Gabba. Nice one, Daft, explained Larka. Everyone joined in. Then all of the other kids in the classroom started shouting out their own made-up words too. Plume Fizz, Knickers, Ujralwump, or to translate dumbstruck into Gabba, Gingangulify. Socky Pocket Poopa, Fintibilus, Hungrot, Winkle Wonkle, Snippy Snappy Snuppy, Donkle Fluke, Woo Jimintus. Silence, shouted Gibber. All of you. You should be ashamed. I've never seen such insolence from a class at the cruel school. Larka plopped her hand in the air, immediately wanting to talk. But you haven't answered my question, miss. Then she returned to making the silly after silly word after silly word. Blim plam, hoojaja, wooby, grungle flumpung, prentice. Paha, 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 paha. Soddle cow, drunkle funkle, dringle dangles, grinkly cronkly, quaggly, woo, willy woo, woolly woo, brumstick crongle, scudferp, tinky tanky tonk, plish splash splosh, hoogle, brinky, blundy, blue, winkle dinkle donkly bloop. All the children were staring straight at Gibber. Sweat began beating at her forehead. She pulled out a spotty milk silk handkerchief and dabbed her brow. Repeat the question, you nasty little troublemaker. This time not in Gabba, demanded Gibber. What I said was, began Larka, mischievous glint growing in her eyes. You don't know a word of Gabba, do you, Miss Gibber? The children erupted into laughter. Ha 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 ha! I like this new girl, exclaimed Knuckles. Me too, agreed Boom. She's cool out of Ponga. Who's the new girl again? Asked Das. Gibber was so furious she looked as if she were about to combust. She stomped over to Larka's desk. As soon as she got close, the girl could hear the particular ticking sound again. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Get out, yelled Gibber. Get out of my classroom at once. Please, could you translate into Gabba, joked Larka. Ha 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 ha, hooted the children. Nice one, Larka called out Spod. Spod, detention! No, he screamed. Double detention! Sorry, Spod, whispered Larka. She felt awful for landing her only friend at school into deep doo-doo. And as for you, Larka, screamed the teacher, get out of my classroom at once. You are in triple detention. But before Gibber could say Sean, Larka waltzed out of the room and slammed it behind her. Bang! Chapter 14, Avalanche. Delighted by her own cheekiness at dodging the triple detention, Larka did a little dance along the long stone hallway. She then felt a pang of guilt about Spod. If he had said about detention was true, she feared for her friend. What could happen to him there? Next, echoing the distance, Larka heard that jingle jangle of keys. Jingle jangle jongle. Oh no! Metal was heading her way. The girl hid behind a suit of armor that was lurking in the alcove until he passed. When he was far enough away, Larka tiptoed down the hall. She passed a large wooden door with a sign that read Mr. Black's Arts. Larka's nosiness got the better of her, and she bent down to peep through the keyhole. Inside was an art studio presided over by a man with a shock of black hair, a black goatee, beard, and all black clothes. He paced up and down the classroom, barking at the children. Mr. Black wants black, black and more black. However, from the look of things, you couldn't have more black. All the paint was black and all the paper was black too. The people's pictures were nothing more than blocks of black. This wasn't art, this was torture. Larka shook her head in disbelief. The more you explored the cruel school, the crueler it became. You could say one good thing about the place if it lived up to its name. Suddenly shadows flashed up the wall. There were two figures, one tall and upright and the other short and squat. The short one was pushing a large piece of heavy equipment on a trolley. It looked like a huge glass tank, like a display case in which you might keep a stuffed animal. Just as Laika tried to follow, the shadows disappeared from view. The passages of the castle were like mazes, and it was impossible to know which way they went. Laika was seriously spooked and tiptoed as quietly as she could. Not far off, she heard the sound of feet clattering on the floor. It sounded like a PE class. Laika was intrigued to discover exactly what games were played at the crawl school, so she took another few paces to reach the door. The sign read, "Danger, Sports Hall." Indeed, the sport being played inside was deadly dangerous. A round lady in a tracksuit was leading the children in a game of dodgeball, but this was dodgeball with a difference. There was no ball. Instead, the teacher, Miss Ball, rolled herself up into a ball and then bowled herself at the children. Roll! She was an expert at the roly-poly game and knocked over a crowd of children who were all carrying behind each other like skittles. Bash! Bish! Bosh! They flew through the air. Ah! Help! Stop! Before landing in a heap on the other side of the room. Thud! Suddenly there was a deafening sound of rattling crockery. Laika opened the nearest door, which had a sign that read, "Lost Property Office." And hid inside, peering through a crack of the door, she spied Rank. The dinner lady was wheeling a trolley piled high with all the broken bowls and plates from breakfast time. She was cursing under her breath. If I ever see that wretched girl again, I will scramble her and serve her up for breakfast. Oops, thought Laika. She waited until the coast was clear before slipping out of the dark and smelly room. The sign on the door next door read, "Mr. Bush's Geography Lesson. Classroom. Do not enter." Looking through the little window near the top of the door, Laika was surprised to see a ruddy-faced teacher with a beard, in a fur coat, goggles and snow boots, standing at the top of a huge mountain of ice and snow. All the children looked up at him from their desks and their faces painted with fear. "Because of your atrocious behaviour," announced the teacher, Mr. Bush, "the bad news is that the field trip to the North Pole has been cancelled." "Oh," moaned the kids in unison. Together they sounded like someone had stepped on a set of bagpipes. "But the good news is that the North Pole is coming to you." Mr. Bush began pushing the ice and snow with his boots. Crunch. Soon an avalanche was sliding through the classroom. Whoosh! Bearing the children up to their armpits. "No!" they cried. "No, it's not no! It's snow! Ho, 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 ho!" hooted Mr. Bush. Immediately, a snowball fight broke out. Whoosh, splat, whoosh, splat, whoosh, splat. A stray snowball hit Laika square in the face. Splat, it gave her an ice beard. "Squawk!" echoed around the school. This time the pelican was signaling the end of the school. The classroom doors were flung open and children began swarming back to their rooms. To avoid being dragged to detention by Gibber, Laika hurried further away from the throng. However, she was shocked to discover that the crawl school had a library, not just any old library. No, spelled out in the big, bold letters over the tall wooden doors were the words, "The Library of Doom." And that will be our next reading, Chapter 15, The Library of Doom. Well, I look forward to our next few chapters. Bye for now.